This is Butler's third suspension in less than 4 weeks. He was suspended for 7 games earlier this month for conduct detrimental to the team, then 2 games for missing a team flight, and finally an indefinite suspension on Monday as he was set to return to face the Magic. All right. Wendy back here with us. Wendy, thanks for being with us. We had a spirited debate about this earlier in the show, but I know you have more to say. And here's what I want to really focus the conversation on. Brian, who looks worse right now? Is it the Heat or is it Jimmy Butler?
It's a great question, Molly, and I think they're all guilty. I think Jimmy Butler, when he didn't get the extension last summer, a rational thing to do would have been to come in this season and play all the way, show the Heat what they have, show the rest of the league what they have, get the Heat to reconsider midseason, which is allowed under the rules, and if failing that, opt out of your contract and get paid in the summer. That is what Paul George did a year ago with the Clippers. We weren't really sure where Paul was physically last year. They couldn't agree to an extension with Paul and the Clippers. He went out and had a brilliant season. He had a max contract offer waiting for him in Philly. I don't think it's working out so well for Philly, but you could see what Paul George was doing. Jimmy Butler didn't do that. From the start of this season, Jimmy Butler was focused on either getting paid or getting out of there. And all of his actions over the last 4 or 5 weeks have been focused on get me out of here. And if you're the Miami Heat, I don't think that they've covered themselves in glory with the way they've handled this, especially in these last few weeks. They've been setting traps for Jimmy to fall into them. Well, let me give you an example of what I mean. You don't tell a veteran player like Jimmy Butler that he's not starting in the huddle in front of all the other players that shoot around. That's what happened yesterday. They had their first part of their shoot around. They got together for the game planning, and Eric Spoelstra said, "We're not starting you." That's not how you handle somebody. They were baiting him. It worked. He stomped off, and then they suspended him again, which is what they wanted to do. And they're going to withhold a bunch of money from him and fight it out later. And Pat Riley knows this player. He knows what his temperament is. He knows what his history is. If they didn't want to extend him last summer, which they made their mind up not to do, and I don't have a problem with that, then they could not expect him to be through this season. I think both of them are guilty, and both of them could have behaved better.
Without question, you're 1,000% right, Wendy. There's blame to go on both sides for all the reasons you articulated. But I wanted to lock in and zero in on how they told him he wasn't going to start tonight. Eric Spoelstra is a Hall of Fame coach. He's one of the great, great coaches in basketball. He really, really is. When he was promoted years ago ahead of other folks that was in Pat Riley's stable, a lot of people had those question marks. He's eviscerated all of them because he's outstanding. Great guy, great coach. High knowledge about basketball. He is going to be the coach of Team USA in 2028 if he wants it, because that's how impressed they were with him when he was coaching in France these past Olympics. Now, remember, Ty Lue is in there as well, and they love Ty Lue. Ty Lue would be number 2 on the list, but Eric Spoelstra resonated with players in a way that surprised a lot of people, the Grant Hills of the world and others from Team USA, and Eric Spoelstra is going to be that dude. Eric Spoelstra, however, is considered an extension, dare I say, the figurative umbilical cord to Pat Riley, okay? Everybody knows that about him. To tell Jimmy Butler that in front of the team in a huddle, they know better than that. So that's Pat Riley giving a directive, Eric Spoelstra following it, and as a result, again, like you said, to provoke Jimmy Butler. Nobody, no matter how much the Heat deny it, nobody is going to see it any other way, because we know they know what professionalism is all about because they're first class. So to do something so different than that, because that's not a first class move right there. You did it to bait them. That's how it looks, which is going to dissipate the level of, I don't want to use the word guilt, but the level of culpability people will usually put on a player like Jimmy Butler, because they know that he was poached a little bit and he was pinched a little bit, and they're going to go at it from that standpoint. You're the Miami Heat. You have to think about that. Yes, it's Miami. Yes, South Beach is 20 minutes away. Yes, the weather is beautiful and all of this other stuff. But y'all know this just as well as I do. Sometimes players think about who you're playing for, what the culture is like, especially in this day and age with the money and everything that comes with it and the level of freedom that has been elevated throughout the years. All of a sudden, you got an environment that exists in Miami that might speak against that. And that could potentially, I'm not sure, but potentially make you a touch less attractive than you normally would be perceived as being. These are the kind of things that Miami has to worry about. And I'm for somebody who's known Pat Riley for decades, Shannon. I love the man. I respect him. I got him in my book, for crying out loud. He was motivational to me. And I would tell you, the issue with Pat Riley is rare that he's wrong. It's that he's dogged in his approach. He is old school, and it's difficult for him to change. And the new school dude see a whole bunch of folks around the league that ain't of the old school ilk. And as a result, that could potentially make them more attractive than, dare I say, South Beach, Miami.
Windy, what was your biggest takeaway from this Rockets win over the Seas?
Well, the Rockets are on an incredible run right now, Molly. We're going to talk about the Celtics, but the Rockets, they've won 9 of their last 11 games, and in those 9 wins, we're talking about they won in Denver, which was one of the hottest teams in the league at the time. They won in Memphis, who's been one of the hottest teams until they got slapped in the face by the Knicks last night. They just beat the Cavs twice, including winning in Cleveland over the weekend. And then they win in Boston, being down 12 in the fourth quarter, with their 2 best offensive players, Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün, having off nights. And Amen Thompson, this is a guy absolutely on the rise, one of the most intriguing young players in the league, having what he called basically a Kobe moment last night. Now, he's not a great shooter, but he's one of the best defensive rebounders in the league. He's a vicious defender, plays way bigger than his size, and you could tell in this moment he wanted this shot. Ime Udoka drew this play up for him. He drew up 2 great out-of-bounds plays in the last minute that got the Rockets. So I think the Rockets, their best days are ahead of them. They're a very young team. They are loaded with assets and cap flexibility. They are fascinating. However, it is Boston's 5th consecutive home loss. And while I still think that Boston, when they hit their highest level, they are the best team in the East, I am concerned about their margin for error, and I am concerned about the minutes that Joe Mazzulla is playing his guys. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derek White, all their minutes are up this year, and their performances are showing some fatigue. I'm a little worried about that in January.
I'm saying, first of all, that Amen Thompson, this brother, I'm hear me good, Wendy. This is a future star in this league. You see, Wendy is so right. He plays bigger than what he is. He's a tenacious defender, definitely a damn good rebounder, got size, nice step back move. That was on Jaylen Brown. That's who he did that to, okay? He didn't do that to just anybody. He did that to Jaylen Brown. So let's remember that as well. Got nice size on him, tremendous athleticism, plays with a lot of energy, is fierce, got a lot of heart, etc. I love what I'm seeing from Houston right now. Let's not forget that Dylan Brooks dropped 36, hit 10 three-pointers last night. Never thought I'd see that, but he did that. Let's not forget that. Anytime we mention the Houston Rockets, Shannon, I have a special soft spot for Ime Udoka, who I believe is one of the best coaches in basketball. I believe Boston wins a championship with them. I believe that everything we've seen Boston achieve under Mazzulla, obviously it started with Ime Udoka. I believe he was railroaded. I believe he was scarred. I will never forgive the Boston Celtics for what they did to Ime Udoka. I ain't gonna get into that story, but everybody knows where I stand on that subject, right? Doming him out like that when there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Don't get me started with the Boston Celtics on that particular story. But Ime Udoka going to Houston and coaching the way that he's coached, this brother is special. He is one of the elite coaches in basketball. Make no mistake about it. As for Boston, here's my problem. I'm seeing too much one-on-one. I'm seeing, we know they're going to jack up a bunch of threes, Wendy. I get that. And I know that when they're on, they're on. To me, they're still the best in the business. They're the reigning, defending NBA champions that are just hanging around, being in the mix, and they can amp it up because they know what it takes, fresh off of actually doing it. Cleveland has to show us. Boston already has. But I do get concerned that they defer to their one-on-one. I'm looking at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and on too many occasions, I'm seeing too much ball dominance, not enough spacing, not enough movement without the basketball, not enough passing as far as I'm concerned, and making defenses work for those 24 seconds before you, or at least a majority of it before you jack off a shot. I'm concerned about that. That's not going to get it done this year. The teams are too good, and they're coming. Houston's coming. OKC, I believe, is already there. We can't ignore Denver because of Jokic. And if Jamal Murray gets going consistently, look the hell out. Cleveland is loaded with youth, athleticism, size, perimeter shooting, etc. I got to pay attention to that, and I ain't going to forget about my Knicks either. I still think you need Mitchell Robinson back, but I ain't going to forget about all of that. Shannon, I'll give it to you. I'm just saying, Boston, they got to play the right way in order to win, and I don't see that right now.
Oh, now Boston got to play the right way. When we had that Boston Tea Party in L.A., it wasn't nothing wrong with them. Now there's something wrong with them, huh, Stephen A?
Oh, my Lord. You actually bring it up. You use this as the opportunity to bring up the Lakers. You really going to do this to yourself? You really going to do this to yourself? Your spring's going to be, you're going to have a bad spring. You keep messing with me.
About the Rockets, yes, Boston is struggling, especially at home. They didn't lose a whole lot of home games. They've already lost 9, and I think Wendy mentioned they lost 5 in a row. But last night, Mr. Thompson, he gave the benediction. Amen. He dismissed them. More of that to come. Now, there's 2 coaches in the Coach of the Year running, Kenny Atkinson at Cleveland and Udoka at Houston. He's done an unbelievable job. This is a very young basketball team playing incredibly well. They share the basketball. Jalen Green can catch fire at any moment and drop 30, 40 on you. But I love the way this basketball team is playing. But look, Boston, they live and die by the 3. You know they're going to try to get up 50 per game. And when they go in, when they're making 20, 25 of them, they're damn near impossible to beat. But when it's bad basketball, when those shots aren't dropping and they continue to jack them up. I hate watching teams that you feel like it's an obligation, like it's a birthright. We've got to get up 53s. I hate watching basketball like that, guys.
Go ahead, Wendy.
I would love to see a finals between Ime Udoka going back to Boston, because that is a man who never, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, I have a huge faith in Oklahoma City. That man never shows emotion, Stephen A. He stomped off that court, and I was reading some of their beat writers. He was in the locker room with a smile on his face, which you never see. That game meant more to Ime Udoka last night.
Damn right, and it should.